All right, Senator Garrett, thanks again for meeting me. We'll
Welcome.
make this really quick for you. So go ahead and let's talk about Senate Bill 39. What are some of your main ideas behind it, and what drove you to sponsor this bill?
Well, let me just tell you the genesis of why I drafted this legislation. I had been working really hard to try to understand why our transit agencies, especially Metra, were paying $1 million+ every year on lobbyists. I looked at the contract that Metra had with their federal lobbyist, and there was a section that said there was a progress report. So I requested the progress report that the lobbyist had drawn up, part of the contract, and I was denied that. I was denied that based on attorney-client privilege, and I found that to be offensive and inappropriate because lobbyists don't have to be lawyers. They can be lawyers, but they are hired not as lawyers, but as advocates or lobbyists for any given entity. So I sought to overrule the attorney-client privilege when used by lobbyists, especially when they are using taxpayers' dollars to pay for the lobbyist and they're lobbying other tax-funded organizations. So it's taxpayers' money being used, and then we are being denied as taxpayers a report on how those dollars are being spent just because an attorney happens to be a lobbyist. So I filed the legislation. There was a lot of pushback because people were concerned that the notion of attorney-client privilege would be affected in a negative way. We certainly don't want that to happen, so we have redrafted the legislation, and now we are saying in FOIA, Freedom of Information Act, that when a lobbyist is lobbying a public agency and using taxpayer dollars, that whether or not they're an attorney or not, they have to provide any kind of summary or a report or update.
What type of pushbacks, Amanda, are you anticipating from lobbyists? I'm sure most of them, you think they're going to be happy about this? What kind of responses have you been
Well,
getting?
lobbyists have been somewhat quiet about it. Instead, lawyers have been very vocal. And
How so?
well, they've come into my office and said that I am messing around with the attorney-client privilege, and that is a slippery slope. So that's when I revised the measure to basically just say lobbyists have to turn over reports, and took the whole notion of attorney that using attorney-client privilege. I just took that out and basically overrode that and said that lobbyists have to provide the taxpayers with how they're spending taxpayers' dollars. And now we will see what happens with that. There's a major FOIA bill that's being put together. I've asked that this measure be included in that bill, so I'm waiting to see.
Is there anything else, Senator, you'd like to add regarding your Senate Bill 39?
No, I think that's it. I think it's gotten a lot of, it's interesting because it's a little bitty bill as far as number of words, but it's attracted a lot of interest because taxpayers now, especially when they hear that lobbyists are spending taxpayers' money, millions of dollars, they feel that they are entitled, taxpayers, to know how those dollars are being spent, and I agree with them.